So my name is Anthony Taronis. I'm one of the enrollment service advisors for our drug development program. Thank you all for attending. We do have a pretty full agenda. I will go ahead and just start with introducing, and so you know who everyone that's going to be on the call. You'll be hearing from a variety of people. You'll be hearing from myself, who, like I said, work in the enrollment staff to help you with the application process. You'll also be hearing from Dr. Desai, our program director, giving a lot of the program-specific information. You also hear from our student success coordinator for the program, Holly. You also hear from Ruth Ann Carpenter. She is part of our instructional design team to kind of talk about our how our course structures is set up in Canvas. And then you'll also be hearing from Corey and Aaron, who are our program managers for our College of Pharmacy. I know that just for the amount of people that are on the call today, we do have your guys' cameras turned off and muted. If you do have any questions coming throughout the entire meeting, please feel free to drop them into the chat. There should be a Q&A bar on your guys' on the taskbar. Please feel free to drop any questions on there. We'll make sure to answer all of them throughout the meeting. And then we also do have a Q&A session at the very end. So we'll make sure that we leave time at the end to go through everything. And then we also do have an alumni from our program, Brad Henderson, who will also be speaking in this as well. So I will go ahead and go on to the next slide. Just to kind of show you guys what to expect to go over, you'll hear about our program highlights. We'll dive into the curriculum, the course design, and the student experiences. We'll also go into the admissions process, deadlines, and then tuition financial aid. So we have a pretty packed agenda. You know, I definitely hope we'll answer all of your questions throughout. And then just to kind of talk about our program and how we're able to help our students in the different degree offerings that we offer. So this is a master's program in drug development. It's a 30 credit hour program, and you can complete it in as little as 20 months to 2 years. And that's while going at a part-time rate. Pretty much all students in our program are part-times. With that as well, we do have 2 different graduate certificates that you can either earn independently if you're just looking for a smaller program, or you can also earn these graduate certificates while going through the master's and obtain both your master's degree in drug development and also these graduate certificates. The 2 certificates that we offer is in global regulatory affairs and drug development, and also clinical trials design and research. Both of these are 12 credit hour programs, and they can be completed in as little as 1 year. Again, they are fully transferable into the master's program. So if you do start in the graduate certificate and later decide that you would like to continue on and earn your master's, you'll absolutely be able to do so. The certificates are not qualified under, do not qualify for financial aid. In general, most certificate programs don't. However, if you are going through the master's program, you'll absolutely be able to use financial aid while going through that process. So I did want to let you all know that at the beginning. But from here, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to our program director, Dr. Desai, and I'll let him kind of talk about just some of his program highlights, and he'll kind of keep going through that and going into the curriculum piece as well.
Hey, Anthony, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you perfect.
Great. So first of all, welcome to all the folks who have tuned in. I hope you find this session very, very informative, but more than information, I hope we are able to transmit some positive vibes, energy, enthusiasm, and inspire you to think about joining our program or similar programs, or programs that further your educational and career goals. So my name is Pankaj Desai, and I have often said I'm a proud UC Bearcat. Bearcat is our mascot because I've been here for 27 years. And I've been in the College of Pharmacy teaching various classes in the curriculum. But I also have a pretty robust research program that is focused mainly on development of oncology drugs. And that really is my background expertise in terms of taking the compounds coming out of a discovery pipeline, doing all the preclinical workup on the compounds, and design the first few phases of the clinical trials. That's the kind of background I have, and that's the kind of PhD program I've run. So that essentially gave me the idea of really launching this program back in 2004, where we felt nationwide, probably globally, there's a need for individuals who are all pretty good in their niche areas, whether it's doing preclinical work, clinical work, or doing pathology, immunology, statistics, management, project management for that matter, but have always wanted to learn more about the nuts and bolts of how a new drug that goes from discovery all the way to the patient's bedside. What are the essential steps, regulatory, scientific, as well as from business perspective, that one needs to think about in a very cohesive, concerted fashion. So we launched the program in 2004. It went through many iterations. Over the years, we have continually focused on improving the content, the curriculum, and of course, then the pandemic hit. So when that happened, we moved our on-site program to essentially an online program. And from that point on, I think our program has grown leaps and bounds. We are reaching a global audience. And that was made possible not only because we have, I believe, some of the top world-class faculty member teaching so we have about 25 adjunct faculty members, some of whom have been very senior industry leaders, and they teach and they're motivated and very dedicated group of individuals who contribute. But in addition to that, we have a large group of individuals within our college, the staff, and people from UC Online. So it's basically two departments working together. While we provide the content, the folks from the UC Online really package it in a way that it's most palatable for an online distance learning world, making sure that people who are going to be signing up to take these classes, we know that you guys have busy lives, are professionally quite tied up, personally have other commitments. So with all of that, the classes are asynchronous. Our quizzes, our exams, our assignments, take-home assignments, and so forth are all obviously asynchronous. So we try to make it work around your schedule while being very vigilant about having a rigorous program, which, of course, from a quality perspective, that is extremely important. So I believe we have a very dedicated and learned group of faculty, staff, as well as some teaching assistants, graduate students who are working in different labs on campus who are actually available as a resource. And you will get to know a lot of the people who will work with you from the time you enter the program, work with you in terms of your progression, any issues that come up, and making sure that you have a defined course of action, quote unquote, the course plan, and are going towards the steps needed to graduate successfully. So we have success coordinators. So overall, we think that we are all success coordinators in one way. We are all individuals who are very vested in the success of our students. I'll stop here, Anthony, and I'll entertain more questions. But I think you laid it out, in terms of the curriculum. What we try to achieve is, obviously have a master's in drug development, but we also provide opportunities to earn graduate certificates in regulatory affairs, as well as in clinical trials design and research. So I'll wait for more questions subsequently.
And it doesn't look like we currently have any questions in the chat. So just a reminder for everyone, with any questions you do have come up through, just drop them right into the Q&A portion, and we'll make sure that those are answered. But while we are waiting on those, I know you had, touched on a lot about the, why the drug development. Would you like to kind of dive into the curriculum piece as well?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we try to have a comprehensive coverage of preclinical as well as clinical phases of drug development, as well as blend into that regulatory issues, intellectual property issues, and different issues that are very key, central importance to the pharma industry. So what we have done is we have a total of 30 credits of curriculum, which is a requirement of a master's program. Out of the 30 credits, we have 24 credits of didactic courses, meaning these are courses that we are teaching essentially our courses. Each is a 3-credit course. And so there are 8 courses that divided into 2 years of curriculum, 4 courses in the first year, 4 courses in the second year. So that again is 24 credits. And then we have 6 credits of seminars and capstone projects. So those are non-didactic hours. So where you need to put in time and effort in addition to learning in the classroom. So the 24 credits divide up in 8 courses. And again, those 8 courses, we have 4 in the first year, 4 in the second year. The first course begins, so all our courses are numbered PhDD, which stands for Pharmaceutical Drug Development. So the very first course is what's called Global Regulatory and Development Strategies of Drugs and Medical Devices. So here the idea is that, first and foremost, we talk about what are the strategies or what is the market need, sort of projected into future of maybe 10 to 15 years down the road. What are the unmet needs? And then that obviously drives what needs to be done. So a lot of most pharma industries have a long-term vision of where where the needs are. So obviously that's where a lot of the focus of developing new drugs and new formulations is. So we talk about the strategic, vision that drives the entire process, but obviously that has to be done within the framework of the local and global regulatory bodies. So local obviously is the Food and Drug Administration of the United States. Globally, there's something called International Conference on Harmonization, or ICH. So working in tandem with different continents, and of course, US FDA does have the quote unquote, the template or the example that everybody tries to follow. But working in tandem, in today's world, you have the ability to file, within all 5 continents at the same time. So the main framework or main regulatory framework that we try to catch are the US, as well as the European, Japanese, and others that are part of the international conference. And then, so we talk about all of that, and we also then talk about, in that course, intellectual property issues. So as soon as a molecule is discovered that tends to have some therapeutic benefit, those things are, obviously, rush to file a patent. And patent protection is very important. So we talk a lot about that. So that's really the first course. The second course, PhD 80/20, goes into the current paradigms of how drugs are discovered. And there is significant emphasis on therapeutic biological. So as most of us have seen, or we've been bombarded with ads on the TV for products like Skyrizi, and these are all large molecular compounds, biological products such as monoclonal antibodies, and there's a huge boom in that field. So we try to capture both in that one course. In the second semester, we teach the PhD 80/30, which I direct that course myself. That goes through the details of what kinds of studies you need to do after discovery in the animal setting, or how do you start discerning how is the drug absorbed, how long does it stay in the body, what kind of toxicities are potentially we have to be vigilant about. So that's a workup to find what we call lead optimization. So what happens is, initially you have literally thousands of compounds that show some promise, but really there are only 3 or 4 molecules that you think have the best chance of becoming a drug, because going from animal model into humans, there's a big leap there, and we need to try to figure out which compounds actually are what we call clinically viable. So we try to emphasize that in that particular course. And then PhD AD40, a companion course in second semester, actually talks about a formulation development. So as the drug goes through the pipeline, we also need to start thinking about how are we going to deliver the drug? Is it something that can be taken as a tablet or a capsule, or does it need to be given as a transdermal, product, or needs to be given only as an IV injection? So that formulation evolves, in a way similar or keeping pace with the evolution of the molecule in the pipeline. So the sum total of these 4 courses in the first year is really to prepare and know everything one needs to know to launch first in human clinical trials. So as we go from first year to the second year, what we are doing is we are preparing students to now understand what are the key elements to start human trials. Of course, you have to file for what is called an IND. So taking these 4 courses helps you understand, what are the components of an IND is essentially investigational new drug application. You need to have an IND approved by the US FDA to start a phase 1 human trial. So as we go into the second semester, the very first course, AD50, which again I direct along with my colleague, Dr. Brenna Carey, who is an expert in biologicals and phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. So that very first course is phase 1, phase 2. So really learning all the learnings from the animal models. How do you decide on that first in human dose? What should be that conservative approach that makes sure that do no harm? And then that's the very first time you're giving the drug into humans, and you start from a very low dose and scale it up till you have an idea about what is the maximum tolerated range, and from that you choose a dose that you think is efficacious. So that's what you try in phase 2 trials. So phase 2 trials is where you sort of enroll patients for the first time in your clinical studies. So those are the details of AD50. AD60 is when it's a companion course that deals. It's a pretty heavy, exposure to statistical issues. Statistics is a key aspect of what must be done. All your studies have to have the rigor, the statistical rigor should have the correct power, and then so what the inference that you're drawing from that is valid. So we have one of the top statistician in the region, Dr. Cindy Rodenberg, who teaches in that. She has about 30 plus years of experience working at companies like Pfizer and P&G. The last semester, we have a course called AD70 that goes into large global multi-center trials, the phase 3, phase 4 trials. So compounds that show promise in phase 2 trials, which are done in a small number of patients, now you expand that into a global trial, enrolling all sorts of other variants, as we call them, or covariates. So this is where we would go into studies where, we include all, as many age groups and gender and individuals with liver disease or renal diseases, and try to capture what the real world scenario would be. And then finally, we have a course called PhD AD, where we hope that by the time a drug goes through phase 3 for phase 4 trials, phase 3 trials, the drug has all the potential to be approved by the Food and Drug Administration. You have to do that very carefully, because by the time you complete the phase 3 trial, you may have the pharma company probably spent over a couple of $1 billion. So, once the drug is approved, it's placed in the market based on its value or the value addition that the compound or the drug has. So what are the economics, and then how do you manage financial management of the entry of the drug into the market is a very important aspect of it. Dr. Guo, one of our top pharmacoeconomics expert, teaches that course. So those are, once again, 8 didactic courses. Hopefully that gives you an idea about how we've sort of designed the curriculum. And along with that, we have you all, the students, also take a seminar course, the 2-credit course, where we bring in a lot of additional speakers from places like the FDA and biotech industry and other industry, where they come in and teach or provide some idea about some very specialized topics. For example, use of radio labels in drug development, or some pharmacogenomics components, and so many different types of topics can be discussed, and students are required to make a seminar presentation themselves. Then we have 2 courses, PhD 1891 and 92. They are go in sequence: Drug Development Project 1 and Project 2. And these are courses where the students are required to come up with a project, and these are mentored projects. So you have a faculty advisor who works with you, but we also go through some of the key FDA guidance documents. By the time you take 1891 and 1892, the drug development project courses, the assumption is that you have now gone through didactic curricula that allows you to assimilate different components of how a molecule becomes a drug. But the FDA framework for every aspect, for example, how do you actually conduct a drug-drug interaction trial? Or how do you actually look at food effect studies? And so they're very specialized topics. So we talk about those in the drug development projects, as well as I mentioned, you'll be required to do a project with a faculty advisor, which are mainly projects that you can essentially derive information from publicly available domains, whether they are published articles or whether they are websites available to you from FDA, from NIH, from any other company or organization. So that, in a nutshell, is the curriculum. A lot of thought and care has gone into designing it. And as I said, we have tweaked this curriculum. We try to keep up with the current developments. And we feel that we are delivering a high quality program in that.
Thank you, Dr. Desai. We did have a couple questions come in as well regarding the curriculum. I think it would make a lot of sense to kind of continue on with them. So the first question for you is, how is our program a Master's of Pharmaceutical Science in Drug Development? How does it differ from a Master's in Pharmaceutical Science that's mainly focused on the pharmaceutical industry as a whole?
That's a very good question. The main difference is that a typical MS in Pharmaceutical Sciences is a on-site research-based course where individuals are going to actually choose an advisor and work with a faculty in his or her lab on a hypothesis-driven project. They will be taking some of the classes, and in fact, they can take some of these classes. Although they are online, they are also available to people who are here at the University of Cincinnati on site. But the main difference comes in the requirement that they be present in the lab. So that's a full-time program. A Master's in Pharmaceutical Sciences is essentially a full-time program. This is a part-time asynchronous program.
Thank you. And then the next question we got is for the semesters. They were talking about how it's generally, we set it up for students, say 2 classes per semester. What would you say the time commitment in terms of hours per week should students expect to dedicate to their schoolwork to be successful in your program?
Okay, I will venture a guess, but we are very fortunate to have one of the alum in the program, Brad Henderson. and who's done so well the program. He actually is also been invited to work as a faculty in the program. So, should I take a guess here, or should I punt it to Brad?
Absolutely, Brad, if you'd like to chime in, I think that'd be a perfect one for you.
All right, yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Make sure you can hear me okay, right? All
Yep,
good?
you hear you great.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll just do a quick introduction here. We'll get that out of the way and then answer that. So my name is Brad Henderson. As Dr. Desai mentioned, I did graduate from this program. It's been almost 6 years ago now, and I did enjoy it so much. It lined up with my career that I did come back and ended up helping out as an adjunct instructor in one of the courses here, in the 80/80 course for the management portion. Now, it's pretty similar to when I was there. The only difference is it was hybrid at the time, so any extra time was just due to, me actually having to get to the campus and in class. But in terms of the work, it being asynchronous, the workload really all depends on, what else you have going on, when you can sit down, read the lectures, and then commit to the work. When it comes to the actual coursework that you're doing for assignments and everything, some of the courses build off of previous courses. And for example, one that I instruct uses an assignment that was created in a previous course leading up to it to help kind of cut down on that extra time and also take that previous assignment to the next level. And so there are a few things in place that kind of, help limit that. I can really only speak to that and kind of what I remember from, 6 years ago as a time commitment. But in terms of just overall load, there's nothing very strenuous. Like Dr. Desai mentioned, everybody here is professional. We have plenty of things going on, and all instructors are all on the same page that any extra time needed, we're very flexible with that. But in comparison to even some undergrad courses and everything, there's nothing extra that I could say is, there's nothing too time consuming. It's a lot of information that you learn, and without too much stressful, I guess, commitment in terms of per weekly hours. Kind of a long-winded answer, but I'm trying to recall from a while back, and I have trouble remembering what I ate for breakfast, honestly, let alone 6 years ago in school. So, but I'm able to elaborate on some of that more if there's more specific question.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. The only thing I can add real quick here is that some of the important features, and I've learned a lot of those myself working with my colleague from UC Online, Ruth Ann Carpenter, and I would invite her to talk about it just a minute, in a few seconds once I'm done. But all the courses that are offered, they have, go sort of in the weekly modules. And our recommendation is that you focus on at least one module a week. Well, I mean, that is a minimum requirement. But if you want to pace yourself, for example, if somebody has to go out of town for 20 days, and you want to go ahead and, go through more modules ahead of time, all these modules are available to you as soon as the semester is open. So beginning of the semester, these are available to you. What I've heard is that some folks, and then, of course, everybody has a different schedule and different lifestyle and different way of working. But a couple of students that I've heard from basically say that they have come to a point where they essentially put away 9 o'clock to about 11:30, 12 on Saturdays and a couple of hours on Sundays. That basically are times that they have focused on these courses. And then as they go along, every week we have a quiz based on the lectures of that week. We also try to, so that is one way to do it. And then there are some individuals who put away a couple of hours each day. So whatever works for you, but I would say maybe about 7 to 8 hours a week is probably the optimal time. Rutan, do you want to chime in here?
Sure, I would concur with both Brad and Dr. Desai that 6 to 8, some people spend 10 hours, it's on per course on their schoolwork. And also just speaking to the tempo, it's highly recommended that you are in the course frequently throughout the week, so that you're not backed up on the weekends. And again, as Dr. Desai, some people they may be doing their work on Saturday and Sunday, but chances are they've done the readings and such earlier in the week, so that they have time on the weekends to craft their either discussion board responses or the papers or the other things that are due. But flexibility is one of the advantages of online learning and online learning in an asynchronous format.
Yeah, the other thing is we don't expect anybody to cram anything here. I mean, this is not meant for a quote unquote an undergraduate way of taking quizzes and exams. For the most part, these are all obviously open book, and in so most of the courses, including mine, we actually give you the assignments and reading, which are based on articles or published papers. The emphasis is really to understand cases and scenarios and analyze those to see, how do you derive meaningful inference from that, literally to move the ball along the pipeline of drug development. What are some of the go, no-go decisions that one encounters, and how do you deal with those? And then how do you keep up with the critical milestones in the development pipeline? I think those are the kinds of things we harp on. And so by the nature of it, it is open book, and again meant to induce thinking rather than cramming, if you may.
Thank you, Dr. Desai. And I think this is a good point for us to go ahead and transition back over to Ruth Ann. I know you guys had just met her a couple of moments ago, but I would really like for you to start kind of going into like the course design and kind of your role for UC.
Sure, absolutely. Delighted to be here. I'm an instructional designer, and so my job is to work with the faculty to help them design courses in an online format that create a good learning experience for the students and a good teaching experience for the instructors. And so I work with the subject matter experts to help their subject content and expertise come alive for you all as students. And what you can expect in a UC Online course is that you're going to be in Canvas. That's it. Canvas is our learning management system. It is one of the best, if not the best, in the industry. So, and you'll also have a consistent layout. And what that means is from course to course, whether it's 80-10 or 80-80, you're going to have a similar format. So you know where to find things. You know where the syllabus is. You know where to access the modules. You'll know where to access looking at your grades and things like that. It'll be consistent from course to course. So you can spend your cognitive energy on learning the content, not trying to find things, which also goes to the ease of navigation. As Dr. Desai mentioned, there is a tempo that is basically a temporal tempo based on weeks. From this week, it may be a module or a weekly assignment, weekly readings, but you will know week to week what to expect. You are able to look ahead in many of the courses and do some of the readings. Some of the assignments are locked down because this is an asynchronous but not self-paced. So it's not like you can complete the entire course in 6 weeks. The idea is we want students to engage with one another. We want you to engage with the material, engage with the faculty. And if there are students that are racing ahead, then you lose that opportunity to engage and learn from each other. A lot of the learning takes place from each other and in the application of the materials. The platform is available to you 24/7, 365. There is a rare occasion, maybe twice a year, where they have to take it down for maintenance, and that's usually only just a few hours. You probably wouldn't even notice it. But that's one of the beauties, is that you can do your work when your life allows you to do so. I will echo that the faculty are present. So that's one of the other advantages of the asynchronous, is that they will answer your questions. They will be available to you. They will state what their communication expectations are. So be very clear and find out. Every faculty And when you go into a course, you're going to have different communication expectations. So in terms of how you can reach out to faculty, some prefer by email, some prefer even in some cases text, and the amount of time you can expect for them to return. So keep that in mind. It does vary across faculty, but those communication policies are clearly stated, usually in the syllabus and usually in the Canvas modules. The modules are set up based on what's best for the course and the material. So there may be, most often there are lectures and some readings. There may be discussions, there may not. They may have quizzes. Most of them do have some test your knowledge quizzes to see how, so you can see week to week how you're absorbing the material. Some have written assignments, some do not. Some have group work, some do not. So, but those all across the entire curriculum are present in one form or another. I offer, there is a QR code that you can access to see a sample course. If you do that with your phone, you'll see the mobile version. I will, a little bit later, I will drop into the chat a direct link from a web version. So you can take a look at what the course looks like. It's very minimal, but you can see how the homepage looks, and you'll see how the modules are set up typically. So regardless of any online program that you might take, here at UC or elsewhere, there are some keys to success, and these include making sure that you block time for your schoolwork. If you're taking 2 courses, 8 to 10 hours per course, that's probably 16 to so hours a week. Where is that coming out of your schedule? So plan ahead. Think ahead of, gee, I know that I spend X amount of time doing so and so. I think I can trade that out for doing my schoolwork. Students are not always successful when they just add this to everything else in their lives. So think about that, plan ahead on that. You are going to be learning from drug development experts. And so that is one of the great exciting things about this program, is to be able to network and engage. And we really encourage you to do so with your faculty. The other mentioned earlier was checking several times a week. If you save up till the end and you find yourself at a crossroads of, gee, I don't know exactly what's required here, or I don't have enough time to finish this assignment, you'll, most of the faculty have a little bit of grace, but if you consistently do that, the grace begins to fade. We do have an orientation course that you'll, as soon as you are committed to the program, you will be enrolled in this Canvas course. It'll give you a taste of what it's like to look and work through Canvas. You'll get to a chance to practice assignments, uploading assignments, taking quizzes, and so forth, so that when you start your first course in 80-10, you are ready to go and up and running. You don't have to spend a lot of time and energy figuring out how do I navigate Canvas, because you've already done it in the orientation course. I will note that we are in the Eastern time zone. Many of the faculty are distributed across the country. However, we use the Eastern time zone as the primary due date. So if you see 11:59 on Sunday evening, that's 11:59 Eastern time most times. However, a lot of faculty aren't going to be up at midnight starting to grade at that point. So oftentimes there's grace given, but please pay attention to that. If you're in Pacific Coast time or elsewhere in the world, you'll want to adjust your calendars. There is a feature in Canvas in which you can actually adjust all the time frames, all the due dates to your particular time zone. And lastly, just like anything in life, the more you put in, the more you get out. So encourage you to engage with the material, with each other and with the faculty. Life does happen, especially as adult learners. And so when that happens, be sure to reach out to your faculty and say, hey, I have a medical emergency, I have a family emergency, I need a little bit more time, whatever that is. But faculty will not know if you are lost into the wind unless you, or you're not being diligent, or you have a family emergency unless you speak out and talk to them. So that gives you a little bit of sense of how the courses are set up and some of the keys to success in being an online learner.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. Okay, I will go ahead and turn it over to Holly. She's the student success coordinator for the program, so you'll be interacting with her quite a bit. Holly, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Hi there, welcome everyone. And I'm so glad that you're here to learn more about this incredible program. And one of the hallmarks, I think, of our University of Cincinnati MSDD program is just the individualized support that students get, starting with your very first moment in inquiring about resources or inquiring about the program. Once you've confirmed your spot, you'll come to my good hands, and my job is to be your first layer of support. And what that looks like is different for every student. But I spend a lot of time partnering with students to check in, hear how things are going, help them perhaps troubleshoot if there's an issue with something technical for registration or within even some of the platforms that we operate. But you should never feel alone in this program as your primary layer of support. I'm keenly focused on answering questions that you have efficiently so that you can do your good work in the classroom. You'll also have access to all of our University of Cincinnati resources. And this, of course, includes our vast online library. We have technical support that is here to assist. We have online classroom management help and writing centers. So again, if there are any areas that you just feel maybe you need a little more shoring up, you can start with me and we can get you to those resources. And then finally, I think one of the hallmarks also of this program is just the opportunity to work with such incredible faculty who are global leaders in their field and learn in that space from them. You'll also be in classes with other students who come from maybe the retail side of pharmacy or the sales side of pharmacy, or maybe they come from chemistry and they're looking to change their career path. So among that, you're also an incredible opportunity for mentorship with your classroom colleagues. So as your student success coordinator, my hope is to always help facilitate those engagement opportunities and help you on your path from the beginning of your program all the way until the end. Are there any questions about my role that I can help with? I don't see any here in the chat. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Holly. And then from here, I know Brad, you guys already were able to hear from Brad Heston a little bit early on. I do want to turn it back over to him, just in case there's anything else you were hoping to kind of talk about your experience through our program.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, as mentioned before, my name is Brad Henderson, graduated the program in 2018. And even at that time, and for the last 10 years, I've been working at MedPace, which is a clinical or contract research organization, which you will learn plenty about in this course. And for those of you that aren't aware, basically, these companies are the ones that are hired by the big pharma companies to help facilitate all the clinical trials, all the moving pieces throughout. And I think the best part about this program, it really does, clinical trials are an incredibly complex thing. And you don't really understand how complex those are until you kind of either work in the industry or you attend a course such as this. And I can say 100% certainty, I wouldn't be where I am now without something along these lines. And what I always tell people about how important resources like this are is what Dr. Desai said is that, you know, this course teaches you everything from drug discovery until the marketing of it all. And it's the amount of work that goes into every step along the way is fascinating to me in general, but just it's so much. And I consider myself now, and wouldn't be able to consider myself, I don't think, this early as an expert, but I do now because of what I've learned in this course in conjunction with what I see on a day-to-day basis here, working at a CRO. So, you know, in terms of what I guess any other recommendations I have is just if you are looking to work in the industry, whether it's research, mainly research for sure, this program is probably the most to the T, I guess, compiled program I've seen out there at all, especially with all the different leaderships we see in all the different courses, experts in each field. Even the course that I instruct here has two different instructors that are very, very into it with completely different aspects that I don't think I would be able to find anywhere else in any programs put together. And so, you know, that's just my quick spiel on, you know, the importance of you know, a program like this, but then really to speak to how wonderful this one is, in my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you, Brad. Very much appreciate you joining us today.
Mhm.
So if I can add, Brad joined us when, you know, he's been at MedPace for many years, but he joined us in this curriculum, and you know, he had significant experience in clinical trials, operations, and management of clinical trials. But if I can dare to say this, Brad, the scientific details behind some of the work and the kinds of clinical operations and the drugs that you were working with, I think you certainly developed a better understanding of that and the patient population
Sure.
that you reach out to. And
Yeah, I can elaborate on that even more. Yeah, thank you. So like what I have always done is data management of some type at MedPace. And when you work in a functional area at a group, you really don't get the whole picture. And so coming to this course really helped me, you know, see what comes in to developing a drug and the animal studies, or prior to it ever even me being involved, as data management. And then also being able to see, once a study ends from at least a phase 1 or phase 2, where it goes next, and then the next steps. Never would I understand any of that without kind of someone painting that whole picture for me, like this program does. And so, yeah, thank you for reminding me. That's pretty much exactly what it is. I had a good understanding, but this takes it to a completely new level.
And I can take, if I can say this with a certain degree of pride, that Brad, you are a leader and climbing the corporate ladder quickly. And you know,
In the if you're applying to the research world as a CRO, a large CRO, there's going to be some department there, some functional area. When I say that, meaning regulatory, operations, data management, stats. Any of these is going to be, you know, bolstered by what you're going to learn in this course. So if you're looking for a CRO job, you're going to get plenty of experience through this program. Other than that, there's still plenty of research, pharmacy roles out there. But that would be my answer if anyone else wants to add on.
and if I can add to that, we get a huge variety of individuals in terms of the background, academic backgrounds, as well as the current job profiles. We have, you know, students coming in with a BS in biochemistry, chemistry, even didactics. We have students coming with management background. One of the first year that we launched the program, we had a person who was working as a lawyer in the project management of a company called Kendall Incorporated. And then we have PharmDs, MDs, PhDs, postdocs, you know, people working in orphan diseases and people working in preclinical bioanalytical field, or working in the contract manufacturing organizations. Anybody who is just trying to differentiate himself or herself and learn more about various aspects of drug development to continue doing better what they are currently doing, or switch tracks, or in some cases just switch the entire company altogether.
And then I did get just kind of add on to that question, because I know you guys talked about on numerous different roles that you know we see some of our students go into, and that could potentially be beneficial for them. What about if a student was looking to move into medical affairs? Would this program be beneficial for them?
I certainly think so, and we've had a few students who have gone into medical affairs and become medical science liaisons. So MSL is a very attractive approach to be working for a drug company and be talking to the key opinion leaders, and then going into different conferences. So we have a PharmD student who did a master's in drug development and joined Eli Lilly as an MSL. We had individuals from Procter & Gamble who came and did that. But yeah, in short, certainly that, because literally we talk about all the aspects of drug development and talk about various therapeutic outcomes. I mean, at least in terms of the efficacy measurements and the biomarkers that we sort of chase to assess efficacy, and the therapeutic the pharmacovigilance that needs to be exercised. These are the kinds of things that the scientific liaison or the regulatory and the medical liaison folks medical affairs folks have to communicate with the scientific world at large.
Thank you. Perfect. I appreciate both your guys' answers for that. Well, just kind of, moving forward, just kind of talking about the admissions requirements, what the program is, looking for, and we'll kind of move through what that entire application process looks like. So our program does require for students to have a bachelor's degree or higher before entering the program. We've seen students with bachelor's, master's, PharmDs, various different stages. We've seen people from all walks of life been able to, come through our program, be successful. We do also require for students have a 3.0 GPA, and then kind of looking at the requirements of the program when it comes to actually submitting the application. There's only a couple things that you really have to submit. So you'll start out by filling out your online application, and you'll create a login to your application portal. With this application portal, you'll be able to log back into it, so it's not something you have to be ready to submit once you start the application. You'll want to upload your unofficial college transcripts for all universities you've attended in the past, a updated resume, a statement of purpose, and then the last thing you need is 2 letters of recommendations. The one thing I do want to note with these letters of recommendations, they're the only things you don't directly upload into your application portal. There's going to be a tab in there that's going to say add recommenders. You'll put your recommender's name and email. They'll receive an email from UC, and they'll submit their letters of recommendation through that email that they receive. So to complete your application, you just need to submit those 4 documents. Our application fees for both our summer and fall 24 terms are currently being waived, so there's no cost for applying. And you'll also be able to have someone through your side to help you through this application process. So my role here at UC is an enrollment services advisor. I'm the exact person that helps students go throughout the entire application process, answer any general questions on the program that I can. You may very well be working with me already, or we have a full team. There's several of us that works directly with this program, so there might be one of my colleagues you're working with as well. So if you do need help while you are going through this application process, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. More than happy to help you through this through this process. And then looking at our academic calendar, we have 3 start dates a year for students to choose from. We have a summer semester that begins in May, a fall semester that begins in August, and then a spring semester that begins in January. And I did want to give you guys the 2 dates for our more upcoming semesters. So our summer semester, the application deadline is April 1st. So you guys still have just a little under a month to submit your applications and be able to start in our summer semester that begins on May 6th. And then our fall deadline is August 1st, and then the actual classes start August 26th. And like I said, the application fee for both of these terms are currently being waived, so there is no cost for applying. And then next thing I wanted to dive into is just with the tuition side. For Ohio residents, the cost per credit hour for both the master's and the certificate is $783 a credit hour. For out-of-state students and international students, it's $798 a credit hour. We don't have, you may see at different universities or on-campus programs, the out-of-state and in-state cost per credit hour difference may be thousands of dollars. It may be something, completely different. For out-of-state, you guys are only going to pay about an extra $15 a credit hour than what you would as an in-state student. So if you are planning on doing the master's program and you are Ohio residents, you would pay $23,490. And then for out of state, you would pay $23,940. And then like I said, earlier in the session, I know we had kind of talked about those graduate certificates. Those are both 12 credit hours. Both of them will only cost you a little over $9,000. And the important thing to note with this, what you're going to pay each semester is all going to be dependent on exactly how many credit hours you take at once. There's not like your set amount you're going to pay whether no matter how little classes that you take. It's all based on how many you take. But at the end of the day, completing those full 30 credit hours, you're going to pay the same whether you take one course at a time or two courses at a time. And if you do start in one of these certificates, or if it is something that you add on, at the end of the day, you still will complete 30 credit hours since the certificate are transferable into the master's program. So even if you start in the certificate or you add the certificate on later, if you finish the master's program, you'll go through a full 30 credit hours, and that 23,940 is what you'll be looking like at an overall place. I did want to also talk about a really unique scholarship opportunity that we have here at the University of Cincinnati. It's called our University to Business Scholarship Program. Virtually what it is our online programs here at UC have been creating partnerships with different companies to create a scholarship fund for their employees, spouses or domestic partners, and then also the employees' dependents that are living in their household and is under the age of 25. This is a free scholarship program. There is no cost to your employer in setting this up. It's not specific to one program. So if your employer opted in to join the scholarship program, you wouldn't just receive a scholarship specifically for doing our drug development program. It could be doing a program for any of our programs through our College of Pharmacy. We have plenty of business programs that can be very enticing. All of those would be covered under that, as well as our different, medical programs. Any online program at UC would be covered under this partnership. We have programs going all the way from associates all the way through masters and different certificates. So there's a lot of ways to be able to help students, with the scholarship program and help, cover a lot of the costs when it comes to, starting that master's. So it's kind of looking forward and just taking the next step. If you haven't already been working with one of our enrollment services advisors and you are wanting to start that application process and move forward with the program, or you just have more specific questions that we may not answer today or may come up later, feel free to reach out to us directly. If you go to online.uc.edu, you can find a ton of information on our webpage with information directly on this program. You can also request information. And you'll get connected with one of the enrollment services advisors directly from there. And then, of course, on that same online.uc.edu, you can also start an application and start the application process for our program. The summer application, again, the deadline is April 1st, and there is no cost for applying currently. That application fee is waived for you guys. And then that was really the full presentation. I do appreciate all of you guys who stuck around with us. I do want to kind of transition into our Q&A session. I know we have kind of been answering questions, throughout this process. We do have a couple more to answer and go over. And again, if you do have more questions come up while going through this, just drop it in that Q&A portion on your taskbar, and we'll definitely make sure to try and hit all the questions. So Dr. Desai, one question that we did receive a little bit ago is about the curriculum that I thought you'd like to touch on. So the student asked specifically if phase 4 of the clinical trials is something that will be studied in the program.
Yes. So that's, so about 40% of the PhD AD course is about pharmacovigilance. Because as the drug goes through the approval process and the real life use of the drug, you continue it's called the post-marketing surveillance. So that's where you understand and then keep a track of what the real world experience is, what are the in some cases idiosyncratic reactions, and so continuous vigilance is very important, and especially for, as we are seeing with some of the biologicals and CAR T cell therapy, where we do end up with black box warning and so forth. So yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Perfect, thank you. And another question that we had received is asking about what is the different type of backgrounds do you see from your incoming students that are accepted in the program, and have we ever had any engineering students enter the program?
Yes. we get a huge variety of individuals. It's sometimes, individuals with backgrounds that are as diverse as law, management, and engineering, who have, so one of the students that went through the program came out of University of Cincinnati, Masters in, I'm forgetting exactly what kind of engineering, but somehow he got into analytics. And he was hired by one of the clinical research organization, took our program. And I'm very proud to say today, fast forward, I think he's working for this company called Syneos and is the global head of oncology drug development. So his engineering skills really helped with data analysis and such.
Perfect. And then the next question we got is, will any portion of the curriculum cover CAR T, stem cell, or other cutting edge therapies?
So we are trying to incorporate that. Dr. Dan Shelley, who teaches the biological aspects of that, is talking about CAR T cell therapy, talking about siRNA therapeutics, mRNA vaccines, and so forth. So there is a component of that. In addition, we bring in additional speakers and seminar speakers, as I pointed out. So one of the top, in the leaders in the field is a guy called Dr. Mugundu, who gave a very nice talk. So every semester for us begins with an inaugural talk. This past semester, this particular semester, this beginning of spring semester, the talk was on CAR T cell therapy by one of the leaders from Takeda Pharmaceuticals.
Perfect. And another question we got is just regarding the admission requirements. If a student has a GPA just slightly below that 3.0 requirement, but has several years experience working in the pharmaceutical industry, would you still recommend them applying to the program?
Very good question, very important question. Yes, absolutely. We do consider industry experience as a major strength. So, there's only so much sometimes, so that more than compensates for 1 or 2 bad grades here and there. So yeah, please go ahead and apply. 2 things. Number one is that if you come from a background that's completely sort of unrelated to drug development, but somehow you have gravitated towards drug development, what we have started doing, and it's, I think, an example of how vested we are in your success. We developed a prerequisite course in introductory principles of pharmacology. Before we can talk about the new drugs, we want to make sure that you understand the basics of how a drug works. So starting this summer, we have a course that is offered by our own College of Pharmacy faculty. So the students can actually sign up for that course as a prerequisite. And if you pass that course, then we allow you to formally sort of enter our master's program. So that's for individuals who do not have the background. And again, those individuals who have lower than 3.0 GPA, we certainly consider work experience. And in some cases, even if the work experience is limited, we think based on their overall courses, the sciences course in particular, we can give what we call provisional admission, which basically means that you have to show that by the end of the first semester you can maintain a grade, average grade of B or above. And I'm glad actually Erin is on the line and she can talk more about that as well. And I'm using her name today, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed that since I give you my code to log in, it's all good. Yeah, so if you are recommended to take the prerequisite Introduction to Pharmacology course before being admitted to the program, I can work with you on that process. You would just need to fill out a basic data form to apply as a non-matriculated student. And then you would take the 2 credit hour course, which is also online and offered asynchronously through the College of Pharmacy. And then upon successful completion of that with a C or higher, you would then be admitted into the drug development program directly. So that is how that process would work. But again, we can keep in touch, and I'll work with you through that process if that is your recommended path.
Thank you. And then another questions that we had received, and this one I'll be kind of happy to touch on, referring to the application process. For students that are, if they join the master's program and they're looking to obtain those certificates, do they still have to apply to those separately? The answer is yes. So technically speaking, the certificates are separate programs that you are going to be obtaining something, that graduate certificate, along as with that with those master's degree. It is going to be those same courses you're going to take in this master's program, but because it's technically a separate program and you obtain something separate than the master's, you would have to go through and formally apply for that. With that, we do try to make that process a little bit easier and more streamlined for you guys. Your transcript should still be in your application from previous, and after you've completed one full semester inside our master's program, you are able to use Aaron and Corey, our two program managers for our College of Pharmacies, as your recommenders. So we do try to help make that process a little bit easier and a little bit more streamlined, but there would be an application we'd have to go through again separately. And then the next question we got is asking again, just kind of more about the curriculum and if this program specifically covers any different sort of disease states.
Yes. Many disease states. So, currently, if you think about all the unmet needs, right? So oncology is obviously a big unmet need. There are a lot of conversations about oncology drug development. We have case studies in cardiovascular drugs, biological drugs that are mainly, targeting mechanisms of inflammation. So we can go on and go through a lot of details, but yes, the short answer is to harp on, some of the nuances. So, for example, in phase 2, phase 3 trials where we have to assess efficacy of the drug, how do you do that is obviously disease specific, right? So we certainly have those examples.
Perfect.
And oncology drug development, in fact, even the phase 1 clinical trial is done very differently. It is one of those things where in phase 1 trials, you typically enroll healthy volunteers. But in oncology applications, you actually, for the most part, have to enroll cancer patients. So we have separate lectures and modules on oncology phase 1 clinical trials.
Perfect, thank you. And then we did have another question in the chat, and it's talking about when they are going through the program, if they have to attend every semester consecutively, or if they would be able to take different semesters off while going through the program. So like if a student had like something, if they attend with us in the summer, would they be able to take a semester off and then return to the program?
I'll answer this scientifically, and then from a programmatic administrative perspective, invite Corey Bjornsson to chime in. The answer is yes, of course, you can take some time off. Our recommendation is that you don't take a break, because sometimes you take a break and I'm old enough to know and have experienced people who have taken some time off and sometimes they don't come back. Again, we want you to stay motivated. We want you to stay plugged in. If you think that your workload is so maybe distributed, take one course this semester and so forth. But surely you can take a break, and we've had students take a break. But I think there's a timeline from a university graduation perspective. You can't continue for certain, more than 4 or 5 years. But let me have Corey weigh in on that timing aspect of it.
Yeah, those are good points. We try to encourage students to kind of go through the program as thoroughly and quickly as possible. Obviously, life happens, people change jobs, certain things happen. So we are flexible to work with students. if there's a semester that you need off. There is a requirement that you have to take at least 1 credit hour during an academic year. And academic year counts as a fall semester, spring semester, and summer semester. So within those 3 semesters, 1 credit hour needs to be taken. The other thing is the university requires all master's students to be finished after or before 5 years. So there's a 5-year time limit to complete the program, which we've found that once students really start this program, it's just really easy for them to continue to go through because the classes just build upon one another, and it's pretty easy to maintain that and go through.
Thank you.
I mean, we have students in the program who have been people who are in active duty, the Army folks, and they have to go to training here and abroad, but they've taken some time off. And certainly we respect the need for you to take some time off and work with that.
Perfect. And it looks like we have answered all the questions in the chat from what I'm seeing. Before we end, I just wanted to kind of turn it back over to the program if there's anyone that had just anything else they wanted to add on real quick before we call it a meeting. All right.
I'll quickly say
go ahead,
that
Dr. Stein.
excellent questions today. Some detailed questions, especially around disease states and curricula. Appreciate the opportunity to provide some insights. But we are available, send us an email if you need more information. But again, I will emphasize the vital role of my colleagues, the staff who play a very critical role in ensuring your success once you enter the program, both in my college and at UC Online. It's a wonderful team that you will appreciate, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. This has been great. And thanks to Brad for joining as an alum.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
There's an additional question. Aaron said, please look at my. Okay.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. But yes, thank you all for attending. For those of you who were able to kind of talk about the program, and especially Brad as an alumni from the program, it's always great for prospective students to be able to hear from that student's perspective. So I do appreciate all of you attending today. If you guys do have any other questions that comes up in the near future, please don't hesitate to reach us out at the program. I put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out to me there. Erin Smith, our program manager, also put her email. You can reach out to her or your current enrollment services advisor as well. But I will go ahead and end this meeting.